Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Monday View and we are taking a view at the P.Cezanne colored pencils. This is a 72 set of colored pencils that I bought from, I do believe, Jerry's Artorama about 3 or 4 years ago. They did come out with another one called Cezanne, and I do have those as well, but they are different. The Cezanne do have the numbers on the barrel, where the P.Cezanne do not. The P.Cezanne has a gold dip on their barrel, and the Cezanne has a silver dip on their barrel. They are done by the exact same company. I do find that the P.Cezanne is a little bit of a thinner core as well. But as you can see, we have a really good variety of color. They added new colors at some point, and that's what these ones here are. And so these ones I don't like where they are, and I will probably be moving them at some point when I rearrange and actually put the stickers on the pencils with the numbers on them. But for now, that's the way they came in the box, and I kept them this way because of the fact that they don't have any sort of markings on them other than what I've put on them. So it helps me keep them in order. And like I said, later on I'll go through and I'll put them in actual color order, but for now they're fine the way they are. So we're going to grab our pencils that we need for our testing. So I need number 4. That'd be this one. Number, that's a little more orange. Well, number 12. Oh, went too far. Yeah, I think that's a little orange. So we're going to go with number 15 instead. It's closer to a red. And then number 38. Is more of a true blue. And of course we've done a comparison, so this is the comparison between the two. This one here is the P.Cezanne and this one here is the Cezanne. So there is a very different intensity of color in the two different sets. The Cezanne does have a more intense color availability. So I do find that they are an upgrade. All right, I'm going to zoom you into the testing area here. Oh, wrong one. Wrong way. There we go. So that you can see the testing area. So of course we've got our water and our smudge. The water test, again, I do the water test because I want to know if they are water resistant. Waterproof is not something that a lot of pencils are, but some pencils are water resistant. The reason why I do this test is because I do use a lot of water-based accents like Stickles, Winkostella, things like that. And if the pencils aren't water resistant and I don't put a barrier on the top of it like a blender, the Caran d'Ache blender is an awesome barrier. The color will bleed into whatever I've put on top of it. So I'm just putting down a good amount of color. I have been coloring with these so far this weekend, and I do find that they do smush really well. So not that you want to smush everything, but you can get a really quick coloring by putting more pressure on, and you can still blend into other colors with adding that little bit of pressure. I don't believe that these are available any longer. I think that when they upgraded to the Cezanne took over. I have not been able to find these beyond like eBay and things like that. I will look again later on and see if I can find them. But I did do a search for them yesterday, and the link that I have that I purchased them from on Jerry's Artorama and no longer exists. So, all right. The Cezannes, though, are available on Amazon in a 120 set. That was another thing that made them a little bit better, was that there are more colors available in the Cezanne. And like I said, they are a much better pigmentation. And I do believe they have the numbers on them and the color chart on the inside of the lid on the tin for the Cezanne. Or it comes with a color chart. I can't remember. It's been so long. Alright. And there we have our blue with the intensity that we need. Now we're going to take our, well, I'm going to color this other area as well so that we can do our smudge right after we do the water. So let's just fill in this area too. The smudge test is a test I do because I have a tendency to rub my hand across the page as I'm coloring. And if I've already colored an area that my hand is rubbed across, I can end up picking up that pigment on the back of my hand or the side of my hand and rubbing it across the page. I have ruined a couple of pages that way, so it's always good to know if the pencil is going to move with my hand. Now, everybody's hands are different. Everybody's chemical makeup of their skin is different. So if they smudge for me, they may not smudge for you. So, you know, this is definitely a personal test. Everybody will have most people will have a different result. So it may smudge a little more, it may smudge a little less, or it may not smudge at all. If they do smudge. Alright, I'm just going to get that intensity on the blue, cover up all of that white spot. Got some white spots showing on the red too, but that's okay. Another thing you will find is the sharper your pencil is, the more layers you'll be adding. If the pencil is a little dull, it gives you that ability to smush them a little bit more. However, a sharp pencil gets into details much better than a dull pencil. Alright, so we've got our water pen here, and as you can see, there is water in it. I don't know if you can see the wet, but there is water in it. Now we're going to bring the yellow. The yellow definitely moves with water, so definitely be careful. If the yellow moves, more than likely the red and blue are going to move a lot. So, because the yellow has got a less pigment, more binder, so they definitely move with water. So be careful when using things like stickles and anything like that. Now we're going to do the smudge test. Definitely moves. Oh, I made purple. So definitely does move with the fingers as well. So just be careful when going over and touching things. All right, we're going to do our 3-color blend. I like to do a 3-color blend with the deep pinks and the light pink. So I'm going to grab these two. They're a little close together. I'm going to grab this one and this one and this one, I think. All right, so this one here is number 21. Like I said, my numbers are probably not the same as your numbers because I numbered them out of the box with my own numbers as they came out of the box. Of course, we're going to leave a tail for the next color to blend into. I'm going to bring up the intensity of that color a little bit. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Always trying to make things perfect. And then we're going to use number 26. Going over that blending area where we left the tail. So, and then number 25. And I have found that these pencils aren't very fond of Nina paper. Sometimes. Sometimes they work great, sometimes not so much. And go back over this area. I'm just going to fill in that white spot. And we're going to bring that dark area out a little more. And then we're going to blend that in to the medium color. And as you can see, it blends pretty seamlessly. So definitely does a 3-color blend, a gradient blend quite nicely. Now we're going to do our rainbow blend. The rainbow blend, sorry, I'm going to turn the page here. The rainbow blend is where we take our 3 basic colors, red, yellow, and blue, and we create that rainbow. So we're going to start off with the red, and I'm just going to build that color up. Now because I'm putting the red down first, it's going to have a bit of a red-orange instead of a yellow-orange. So it's not going to be a bright orange. Of course, we can make it a bright orange. Just putting that tail in for the yellow to blend into. All right, and then we take our yellow. I'm going to start back here so that I don't end up with red in the blue. We're going to put the tail for the blue. Then we're going to do our yellow. Then we're going to start going into the red. And as you can see, it does blend. And now if I go with the red over top of the yellow, we're going to get that brighter orange. Depending upon what you put down first is what will be prominent. So a red orange or a yellow orange. So we definitely have orange there. Now for our blue. Now because we put down our yellow first, we should have a bright green. And of course you can make that brighter by adding more yellow. Just make sure that when you go over the color, you wipe off the red from the previous color because it will pick up a little bit of that color. And there we have our rainbow. And like I said, we've got our red orange, our yellow orange, yellow green, green blue, and our blue. So a yellow green is going to be brighter than a blue green. But it definitely does do that transition, which is what we wanted to see. Now for our next test, we're going to do a blender versus white. Now I do have two different blenders that I'm going to use. So we're going to split the blender in half so that we can test one side with the Caran d'Ache blender and the other half with the Derwent blender. I'm going to start with the darkest color, just the same as we did on the sphere. But this time I'm not going to put as much of a tail for it to blend into because I don't want to do this as a pencil blend. I want to do this as a blender blend. With doing things as a blender blend, you do have to make sure that you have enough pigment on the page, enough pencil on the page for the blender to pick up and move. If you don't have that pencil on the page, all the blender is going to do is pick up your pencil and not redistribute it because it doesn't have enough there to move it to somewhere else. So I've got a good solid amount of the first one down. Now we're going to do the second. Again, just coming up against it, not blending it over into it, just barely touching the edge. Once again, going to use that pigment, make sure I have enough of it on the page, otherwise the blender will not move it. And then finally the lightest. Okay, so there's our three colors of pink. Now I'm going to take my whole thing here and I'm going to put that halfway up. And the first one we're going to use is the Derwent blender. So I'm going to make sure that's clean. Always make sure that your blender is clean before you use it on your next project. So we're going to start in our light. Also removing the white spot from the whatever white spot is left over from the coloring. Alright, so there is our Derwent blender. I'm going to dust that off. And we're going to cover up that half. And then we're going to use our Caran d'Ache. Again, we're going to start in the light, make sure that our blender is clean. A little bit more dust there with the Derwent, or with the Caran d'Ache, I mean, than the Derwent. Now I'm just going to quickly draw a line so that we know which is which. Alright, so this was the Derwent, this was the Caran d'Ache. So as you can see, the Caran d'Ache did move it a little bit better and blended those edges together just a little bit smoother than the Derwent did. Now we're going to do the same thing with the white. We're going to put down a good amount of pigment for each area, and then we're going to blend it with their own pencils in the white tone with the white pencil. Now the white pencil in some sets is very translucent. In other sets it can be a little opaque. So if you have an opaque set of pencils, for example the Prismas, the Prisma White is very opaque. It is one of the better white pencils available. And I say one of because there are some out there that are a little bit better. But if your pencil is opaque, you are going to find that your color is dulled down in comparison to what it was when you put it on the page because of the white pigment that's in there. So if you do not want that to happen, if you don't want that pigment to be dulled down at all, use a colorless blender, either the Caran d'Ache or the Derwent. There are so many different ones, the Lyra. The only one I really strongly do not suggest is the Prisma blender. I do find that it just scrapes all your pigment off the page and doesn't really redistribute it anywhere. So be careful with that one. I know a lot of people do use it, and I know a lot of people that use it really well. For me, it does not work. I also know a lot of people that it does not work for, so be careful with that one. Just putting down that pigment, just coming right up against the edge of the previous color. And I put them in the wrong order, but that's okay. Alright, now we're going to take our white and we're going to start. And with the white, I go in the opposite direction. So because I put the color this way, I'm going to go this way. I find that it blends better that way. And as you can see, there's not a lot of the white going in to the dark area. So it's not dulling down that color a whole lot. So we have a fairly translucent white here, but it is blending the colors together quite nicely. So definitely the white will work to blend these colors together. So all in all, not water resistant, not smudge resistant, but they do blend together very, very nicely. Um, they do have a tendency to be picky about the paper. So when I was having troubles with it blending on the cardstock that I'm using, I did find that with a little bit more pressure and more layers, you can get them to smush together into what you want it to be. So again, that's the P.Cezanne colored pencils. These are a colored pencil set that was available on Jerry's Artorama, but currently the link that I had for these, doesn't work any longer. So I will have to take a look and see if I can locate um, something that will give you a link to the pencils if they're still available. All right, we're going to put that aside. I'm going to show you a page that I did. Hold on, I got to zoom you out. That's zoomed in a lot. I did finish this page over the weekend. So as you can see with her skin, it's a little choppy, and that's because the amount of pigment I had to put on the page, I couldn't get it to blend. I also started this one here with the Scooby-Doo pencils, and they just did not blend well together. Sometimes pencils will blend well together. The Scooby-Doo and the Caran d'Ache, or not the Caran d'Ache, the P.Cezanne, no, 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 do not blend those. They do not blend well. But the rest of them were all done with the P.Cezanne. All right. And of course, we have our Art Matters today. So we will do our Art Matters, and then I will be finished for now. Of course, I will see you again very soon for our Monday Live. All right, I'm going to zoom you back in because we have a sneaky snake to color. So it says leg crushed and then eaten by a mutated boa constrictor. Make good art. So he's in the boa constrictor's tummy and he's tapping away, going, "Hey, I'm in here. I want out." So there we have it. A mutant boa constrictor has eaten him for lunch. And we're going to put the light color down first, and he's very mutant. He is well, he's a mutant. Let's color him like a mutant. Let's start with this one. We're going to start with some green. I'm going to color him as if he's a mutant. I gotta sharpen the green. The book is going to close on me though, so I'm going to grab need my clip. I'm going to put our clippy clip on here to hold it open. There we go. And of course it is Labor Day, so for all of you out there that have the day off, enjoy your Labor Day. Enjoy the time off. Don't labor too hard. Just because it's called Labor Day doesn't mean that you're supposed to work. All right, and I'm going to move that down this way so that I'm not having to reach all the way up to the top of the desk. And I'm just going to base the whole snake with this green. Now this is not a coloring book, so you will find that the paper in the Art Matters book may not accept a whole lot of color. So make sure that you put down the colors that you really want to be on there first, so that you can build color off of that main color, but it won't look choppy if you're not able to get the main color on there. And putting a very light layer, like I said, I want to add other colors. So if you put just a very light base color, you will be able to add more color. But if you push too hard, you're going to use up all the tooth of your page very quickly, and you won't be able to add more color. I do find that I have found that sometimes the wax-based pencils don't work so well in here because they smoosh into all the crevices very quickly, and you have no ability to build that color up. Mutant boa constrictor. That's a really big nope rope. Nope rope with 6 eyes. That's just not right. Actually, boas are not bad. They don't have poison, so just don't get caught up with a really big one because it will squeeze the life out of you. They're almost as bad as grandma hugs. Or auntie hugs, the ones that you only see once a year that squeeze the life out of you. All right. And again, this is just a base coat. It's not going to be the full color. Of course, this, like I said, this is not a coloring book. The artist, Chris Riddell, did shade and draw these pictures as if they were finished. So it has a lot of the movement shading in the page, which is awesome. So you can definitely be able to follow that movement in the page. There's always going to be a couple of printing errors or problems with the picture. So be careful that you're not following a line that's a printing error. I haven't found a whole lot of them in this book, but in the Hugs book I did find a few. Alright, now we're going to add this one here. Yeah, number 52. I'm going for a more olivey kind of green for this sneaky snake. Because most boa constrictors are a brown color, so I want to go with a olivey green kind of color. Because he's a mutant. So with mutants, we color them different colors because their colors are mutated. Because they're special. I'm going to turn the book just a little bit here so I can get into this area. All right. And then come up through his eyes here. Add some of that darker green. I think that would be weird. Come across. I've seen a snake in the um, aquarium. I think it's the aquarium. It was on the news, and he has two heads. Can you imagine finding that in your yard? A weird little snake with two heads. But, you know, it does happen. Siamese twins and all. Guess it does happen in the animal kingdom as well. Just don't see it very often because they don't survive. And those that do, you know, we get to see. But I thought it was very interesting that there was a Siamese twin snake. And they were saying on the news when they were talking about him that each head has its own thoughts. So they'll fight over food and stuff like that. Which is funny because all the food goes to the same place. So either which way, whoever wins still fills the belly, you know, but their brains, I guess, don't comprehend that. I get very interested and obsessed over things like that. It's like you would think that their heads would comprehend the fact that they're going to feed the belly no matter which one gets to eat it. But they don't. So I'm just following the artist lines for the shadows as well as the markings on the snake, as well as the movement of the underbelly here, where our little fella is caught up. And has stretched that snake's tummy with a bit of a bulge. However, that's not something that would ever happen because a boa constrictor will make sure that you're pretty much dead before he eats you. So if you do get caught by a boa constrictor that's big enough to eat you, um, yeah, don't worry about being eaten alive. They don't like to eat their food while it's still moving. However, they also don't like to eat dead food too much either. We, growing up, my stepfather had a boa constrictor, and my mom, for a long time, had two ball pythons. So I know a little bit about the constrictor snakes, and I know that they did not like to eat their food alive. They did kill it all before they ate it. I don't mind constrictors. I think they're very pretty. And they're usually quite well-mannered. They will only strike when they're hungry. So as long as you keep them well fed, they don't strike too much, and you can handle them quite easily, especially shortly after they've been fed. Just make sure they go to the bathroom first, and they only do that once or twice a week. So the duty kind, because they digest their food, and all the bones and hair and everything else is what comes out of them, but they have to digest that first. And that's too much information. We will move on. I was thinking about it going, okay, yeah, that was just way too much information about sneaky snakes. But reptiles are very interesting creatures. Make sure that you can still see what I'm doing. And of course, tonight we will be continuing on our Scott Howden page. This page we're doing a little differently than we normally would. We are using a color palette for our Facebook challenge. So this one will be entered into the Facebook challenge. If you're going to follow the Facebook challenge and do the Facebook challenge, that'd be fantastic. Just make sure that you put your artwork in the album that for the event, and it will be judged at the end of the month. All right. We're getting there. We're almost done with the second color. So I hope, what is everybody going to be doing this week? I hope you all have plans for the day and you get to spend some time outside if it's not yucky and raining like it is here before the winter fall area. Here in the fall, all it does is rain, so you just don't enjoy going outside very much in the fall here. sometimes we get what is, I've always been told growing up, is called an Indian summer, where it stays sunny and overly warm for the majority of September and into the start of October, where the leaves won't change until October. All right. And hopefully we don't have that this year. We've already been too warm. We need the rain. We need the rain. I think a lot of people need the rain. It's been really warm this year. All right, so there is that one. Now we're going to take a deeper green and we're going to put in the shadowy areas. So the areas where his body is going to shade it. And we don't have a lot of tooth left, so hopefully this will show up. Not a lot of tooth left up there anyway. A little bit better down here, but not a whole lot. And then we're going to turn the page just slightly. We're going to come up into the underbelly shadow here. The back area here as well. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of tooth left on the page. And I did not press hard with either of the two colors I used. It's just the type of paper that is in the book, because it's not made for coloring. This is made more for reading. The artist did not intend for it to be a coloring book. But I'll turn anything into a coloring book if I like the pages. If I like the pictures, I'll just turn it all into coloring books. Alright, so there we have our, ooh, that brightened a lot. There we have our sneaky snake. Now we're going to do the ground. So we're going to take lighter green. And we're going to do this as if it's the grass in the jungle. Because we've got some jungle trees back there too. And get that grass done up there. sure that we color in the grass behind it. And the rest will color in as this sky. Now we're going to need this one, I think. Let's take a look. What color do I want? 47. Yeah, that's a good color. And we're going to do the shadows in our grass from him. Like so. We're just going to gently blend it in to that light green there. Then we're going to finish up the trees and then we'll be all done. Just going to sharpen this up. I'm going to come up here into this grass area. I'm going to flick this more than anything. Like so. Alright, and then we've got the jungle vines. So let's do those as well. Then we've got a brown. For the tree. For the trunk and the branch. We've got tree trunks all the way up here, so very loosely coloring that in because it's drawn very loosely. Now we're going to take a brown, dark brown I mean, and we're just going to come through with just little strokes filling in the shadow areas. A little tighter there. Like so. Alright, now for our leaves. I want to do them number 46. And we're going to base them with this one. Like I said, the artist has drawn this area very loosely, so I'm going to color it the way he's drawn it, also very loosely. And then we're going to take number 51. And we're just going to do some details and texture. Sometimes you just have to follow the direction of the art. And if you try to get too perfect with something that's drawn imperfectly, with imperfection, you will find it very frustrating. So when I say that it's drawn loosely, so I'm going to color it loosely, that's the reason why I'm doing that. Because if I tried to color this with perfection, make sure that everything is exactly the way it should be, I will get very frustrated and lose patience with coloring the page. So if you find that things are not looking the way you want them to, or that the artist has drawn it in a way that you just don't know if you can get the best look out of it, remember how it's drawn. If it's drawn loosely and very shadowy or very undetailed, just remember that that's the way the artist has drawn it. So that's the way you should color it. And that way you don't get frustrated with your coloring because your coloring is not looking the way you want it to look. And it's not because of the way you're coloring, it's because you need to color the way that the page is drawn. You can be the best colorist in the world, but if you don't follow the direction of the artist in your page, you may find that it's very difficult to color that page. All right, there's our trees. So I'm going to zoom you out. Well, let's take a little bit of blue first and do a background. Just a little bit. Just because. Oh, and I did not. I might have to erase because I didn't move anything. So I'm just going to go very lightly with the blue. Very loosely, very lightly. Doing up the blue sky. Oh, and we forgot his tongue. Sneaky Snake has to have a red tongue. Don't forget to do the tongue. If you're following along, make sure that you do his little tongue. All right, so there we have it. I'm going to zoom you out. And there we have our Sneaky Snake. It says leg crushed and then eaten by a mutated boa constrictor. Make good art. And then the next page that we will be doing is this one here. And I'll have to erase on this one because I didn't put my page in between. Let's move that so I don't forget again. All right, guys, with that, thank you all very much for watching. Of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artists that you enjoy, including myself. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by either purchasing something from our 3D print store, which is listed in the Ko-fi coffee app. You can also purchase me a coffee, become a subscriber to the channel, or a subscriber to the Patreon. There is also a merch store available. So if you want to have a My Coloring Corner t-shirt, tote bag, a teddy bear, a coffee cup, pretty much anything you can think of. Um, you can find that on that link on Ko-fi as well as on the end of this video. Um, so again, this was the P.Cezanne colored pencils. They are not water resistant. They do move with water. They do move with your hand, so be careful. They are not smudge proof either. They do blend very nicely together for a 3-color gradient blend as well as a rainbow blend. They do work very well with the blenders, the Derwent blender as well as the Caran d'Ache. The Caran d'Ache I find is a little bit of a smoother blend, transitioning those into the gradients. Also blends quite nicely with the white, and the white is translucent enough that it's not going to cover up your pigment as much. So that is the results of today's Monday view, as well as the Matters Monday, where of course we are coloring in Neil Gaiman's Art Matters, because your imagination can change the world. The pictures in Art Matters were illustrated by Chris Riddell. If you want to take a look at this book or any of other books done by Neil Gaiman or Chris Riddell, of course they are available on Amazon. All right, guys, with that, thank you all very much for watching. Always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.